Wonderhussy here in beautiful California, at a part of California I've never been in my entire life. Now, I was born in California, but I was born in Northern California. Today, I'm in Southern California, and not just anywhere in Southern California, one of, if not the most iconic places, the beach of all beaches, Malibu. That's right, Malibu, where all these movie stars live in these amazing houses up on the top of the bluff and all along the coastline, running that way and that way. And as hard as I work and as many videos as I make for the rest of my life, well, I'll probably never be able to afford to live here myself. But I always thought this would be the most beautiful place in the entire country to live. Say what you will about the people, I'm just talking about the landscape. I mean, the climate here is amazing. I'm here on August 13th, and it's only 70 degrees. In fact, it's cool enough that I had to put my hoodie on. Totally different from where I'm from in Death Valley. And yeah, I guess it is kind of a bummer that it's so overcast because, well, it is the beach. And I did hear that there's a nude beach right up the coast a few miles. But in this weather, the last thing I feel like doing is getting naked and laying out on a nude beach. That's okay. There's plenty of other interesting stuff to do in Malibu besides hang out naked on the beach. For instance, we are right in the shadow of an extremely iconic movie location. Okay, do you guys recognize this? I guess it might be kind of hard to recognize with all the production stuff going on there. They're filming some kind of movie over there right now, as a matter of fact. But this happens to be the site where they filmed that iconic ending scene for Planet of the Apes. Remember Planet of the Apes? Charlton Heston lost on this post-apocalyptic planet peopled by humanoid ape creatures. And then at the very end, he's on this beach and he sees the Statue of Liberty buried in the sand. And he has that iconic breakdown where he falls to his knees in the sand and realizes this was planet Earth all along. And then he does that whole, "You fools, you blew it up! Damn you to hell!" Remember that? Well, I guess all of that took place right up there in the shadow of that giant outcropping, which is called Point Dume. And no, not Doom like D-O-O-M. And no, not Dune like sand dune. It's Dune, D-U-N-E. And come to find out, it's short for Dunetz. This guy, Francisco Dunetz, who was a Franciscan father, and I guess the first white man to discover Point Dume. Back in 1793, George Vancouver was sailing this coastline. 1793, I didn't realize there were white men out here that early. Anyway, he was the first white man to discover this outcropping, and he named it after his buddy, this Franciscan friar, Francisco Dumetz. And so I guess you could call it Point Dumetz, but they just call it Point Dume for short. Anyway, it's a bummer because I wanted to go right up to the base of the formation and recreate the Planet of the Apes scene and just kind of goof around, but this big budget Hollywood production has the whole end of the beach roped off. You can see they have all their production trucks, all their equipment. Oh, there's a guy, a very official looking guy with a clipboard walking down the beach. And then they got this little security tent here to make sure no looky-loos wander in. I don't know what production it is, if it's a movie, if it's a TV show, but it looks like they set up, there's a big light there and a colored umbrella. I think that's what they're filming. And no telling what it is, because they've filmed all kinds of stuff on this beach, not just Planet of the Apes. This beach has been in a bunch of movies. If you've ever seen The Big Lebowski, I guess there was like a beach party scene. That was filmed here. A bunch of surfer movies over the years. And then iconically, I Dream of Jeannie, the opening segment of I Dream of Jeannie, I guess the first episode, where the astronaut washes up on the beach and he finds that genie in a bottle and he opens it up and lets her out. And, well, we all know the rest of the story after that. That whole scene was filmed right here, too. Look familiar? In fact, the guy who played the astronaut, Larry Hagman, that was the same guy who played JR on Dallas. Remember Larry Hagman? Well, I guess he liked this area so much, maybe after shooting that I Dream of Jeannie episode here, that he ended up moving out here, and he lived out here for decades. Larry Hagman was a really interesting person, okay? You might go, oh, Larry Hagman, I Dream of Jeannie, Dallas. What's so interesting about that? Well, if you read his biography, he was wild. I guess he was a huge boozer when he was younger, like a really, really heavy drinker. As a matter of fact, I read that when they started doing the script readings for Dallas, before they started filming the first season of Dallas, Larry Hagman strolled into the room where they were all sitting around the table to read the scripts, all the actors, and he had like bandoliers on, like a Mexican bandito with champagne bottles tucked in the pockets instead of bullets. And he was just that kind of a guy, I guess. He was a big drinker, a big partier. Started taking a toll on his liver. Well, at some point, one of his actor friends turned him on to LSD. And so he got really into LSD and marijuana instead of drinking. Anyway, he used to live out here. He had some crazy bohemian beach situation up on the bluff here, I guess, or maybe down farther on the actual sand. And I guess every Sunday they had like naked beach brunch at Larry Hagman's house, and they would all just run around naked all day drinking champagne, or maybe they wore bathrobes. I don't know. I read about it a long time ago, and it sounded absolutely amazing, and I never realized Larry Hagman was that interesting of a guy. But apparently he was, and I don't know where exactly his house was, but I'm sure whoever lives there now knows all about the history of the place. Or at least, I certainly hope they do. Okay, anyway, it's too cold to really sit here on the beach. I wanted to hike to the top of the formation, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through there because of this dang film production, but I'm going to try. Okay, wow. Far out. One of the guys working on the crew of that film set recognized me from YouTube. He asked me if I was going to any hot springs today. Unfortunately, I don't know of any hot springs in the immediate area, but anyway, yeah, he said I could just walk right through here and hike up to the top of the bluff. So I was able to cut right through the middle of that film set, and I still don't know what they're filming here or if there's anybody interesting acting in it. But anyway, this is cool because it gives us a perfect unobstructed view of the cove where they filmed that Planet of the Apes scene. I think, wasn't the Statue of Liberty poking out like right there? And of course, it wasn't the real Statue of Liberty, and it wasn't even an actual Statue of Liberty prop. I think they just painted a matte picture of it and somehow superimposed it on the film. I'm not really sure how the technology works. But anyway, there was no giant Statue of Liberty buried in the sand here, unfortunately, because oh my god, talk about an amazing tourist attraction. Oh, look how cute. There's a guy sitting at the base of the outcropping playing his guitar. Aw, I love that. In the middle of all this craziness with this movie being filmed and kids screaming in the water and YouTubing ninnies talking about the Statue of Liberty and Planet of the Apes, this guy found a little quiet spot to just play some music. Oh, look, what does this say? Hallowed ground, critical landmark and popular icon. The ancient volcanic cone of Point Dume was once used as a sacred space by the native Chumash. Wow, how about that? I didn't realize this was a volcanic cone, but I did know that the Chumash was the Native American tribe that lived in this area. And I have to say that out of all the Native American tribes that have been displaced by the white man in the last 300 years, I feel like the Chumash got the rawest deal of all. I mean, again, I consider this section of the California coastline to be like the most beautiful part of an amazingly beautiful state and an amazingly beautiful country. This poor Chumash tribe really got gypped. Or I guess you're not supposed to say that anymore because it's considered offensive to the Roma people. Cheated is what I meant. I feel like the Chumash really got cheated. I mean, this must have been a friggin' paradise before George Vancouver sailed around the corner and identified Point Dume and named it after that Franciscan friar. And can you imagine? It was like a Garden of Eden. All these peaceful Native Americans living in this very relatively abundant area. I mean, yeah, this is technically a desert, and a lot of people don't realize that, but Southern California is basically a desert. I mean, you can see the cactus growing here. They just like to distract you from that inconvenient little fact with their palm trees and green lawns and swimming pools, all fed by the water they sucked out of the Owens Valley, because there really isn't that much water here, despite the fact that we are right next to the ocean. Oh my God, look at this amazing view of Point Dume State Beach. That's the film set right there. I don't know. Looks like maybe they're doing the Three Stooges Go to the Beach. Looks like they got chairs laid out for Larry, Moe, and Curly. Or I don't know, maybe it's the Three Amigos or the Three Musketeers. Anyway, it's just a great overview from up here of this gorgeous section of coastline and all these lucky bastards who live out here. I mean, again, it'd be nice if it wasn't so overcast. I could zoom in and perv on some of these beautiful multi-million-dollar estates. I mean, I don't need to tell you how many celebrities live out here. It's kind of seen as a sort of getaway, I guess, because Malibu's an hour, 2 hours north of Hollywood, so it's kind of like this quiet coastal seaside village where you can get away from the hustle and bustle of Hollywood, Beverly Hills, all that mess. And I guess back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, even up until the 60s, I think this was kind of a sleepy backwater. You know, I read or listened to a really interesting podcast one time about this legendary surfer named Mickey Dora. He was one of the first guys to popularize surfing, and he's considered still to this day to be one of the best surfers of all time. Well, he was basically just a surf bum who lived with a colony of surfers on the beach somewhere right around here in Malibu. I mean, from what they said in the podcast, they literally lived in huts they made out of palm fronds on the beach for free. That's how low profile Malibu was back in those days. A bunch of surfer bums could build huts out of palm fronds and live on the beach for free. Ugh, the good old days. When people talk about the good old days, I usually roll my eyes and go, okay, yeah, it was good for some people. But you know what? California, 100 years ago, even 75 years ago, even 50 years ago, must have been a friggin' paradise. And I guess it still is for some of these lucky people who live out here. I mean, look at this friggin' house in front of us. I mean, you might not like the architecture, but that is pretty freaking amazing. I mean, how amazing would it be to live in a house like that with your own private little trail leading down to Point Dume Beach? Oh, like I said, I don't think it matters how hard I work or how many videos I make. I'll never be able to afford to live out here, but hey, I can come visit. I only had to pay $8 to park, and she asked me if I was part of the film production, and if I would have said yes, I might have even got in for free. Dun, dun, dun! Here we are at the top. There's this little flat piece of concrete. I don't know if this is the foundation from something or what, but I guess it'd be a nice place to stand up and take a look around at our surroundings. It's pretty windy out here. Hopefully you can hear me, but it feels amazing. But I stuck my toes in the water when I got here, and it was pretty cold. Oh yikes, I hope you guys aren't getting vertigo from standing up here on the very tip, the point of Point Dume. Oh, this is interesting. You can see, if you look at this house here, I don't know if you can see, they have a sprinkler running, watering the friggin' bushes. That ought to show you how friggin' dry it is out here. I guess they don't get enough moisture in the air from the ocean to keep their landscaping green, so they have to run a friggin' sprinkler. I told you, this is a desert. But anyway, it must have been absolutely beautiful before any of those mansions were built, and those hillsides were probably covered in flowers and, you know, succulent bushes and little cacti, and the Indians living peacefully. They probably came down here to the beach and dove for abalone. I bet they ate really well for an Indian tribe. You know, a lot of these tribes, like the Paiute Shoshone out where I live, you think, golly, what did they eat? I mean, it must have been really hard to scrounge up enough nutrients from the desert. Out here, living was relatively easy. I'm gonna go ahead and get down off that point now. I wasn't scared, but well, you never know. I could get a gust of wind, and like I said, I don't want to get bashed to a million pieces on the rocks below. Anyway, the Indians out here had all the abalone they could eat. I don't think I've ever had abalone, but I've heard it's absolutely delicious, and I bet it is. And then they had, you know, the rest of the fish they could catch. They had birds, there's probably deer, antelope down here. I mean, back then there's probably grizzly bears down here for all I know. California it really was a paradise. And then man and his movie making ways moved in. Look at that. They're moving the ice cream cart. I guess they're setting up a scene. Oh, look, they have the light on. Isn't that funny? They have to put a light on, even though they're shooting in the middle of the day. I guess it's not quite bright enough for Hollywood. I thought I read online that there was a marker for Point Dume talking about George Vancouver and the whole discovery process, but I don't see anything. Oh, maybe it's all the way at the top. It looks like there's hiking trails that go all the way to the top. And well, since we're here anyway, we might as well go up there and see if there's anything interesting. Before we go up there though, see if I can sneak a peek at that guy playing his guitar. If he's still down there. Oh dang, look at that. There's all these cops on the beach. All these cops in quads. What is going on? You hardly ever see anybody driving on the beach in California. They protect everything so much. What is it, like is that ice trying to keep people from swimming up from Mexico? No, I can't imagine. I think it must just be security for the movie. Maybe they're all lined up there because they're getting ready to bring the movie star out. Whoever it is that's starring in this production, whoever the three amigos are going to be that are sitting in those chairs, maybe they came out here to run interference so that people don't run up and try to get an autograph. Actually, the other night I was in Hollywood, the city of Hollywood, with my friend Mike Z, and we went down to Hollywood Boulevard to have some drinks at some of the bars down there, just kind of walk around, people watch, and we wanted to go to that Chinese theater where all the movie star handprints are, but they had it closed off because there was a movie premiere happening. And so they had those barricades all along the edge of the street, and there were people kind of like standing by the barricades, waiting to see something. I go, what's going on? Who's going to be here? And they go, Sharon Stone. Ooh, I would have loved to have seen Sharon Stone, especially if she did her signature move. Just kidding. Oh, poor Sharon Stone. She'll never live that down for the rest of her life. And she's actually a pretty interesting person, too. I think she's a member of Mensa. She's supposed to be really smart. But of course, well, you flash your twat once, and that's what you're known for. Aha, look at that. There is a monument. Okay, this thing says Point Dume, but then in parentheses it says Dume. So I wonder if that's how you're really supposed to pronounce it. Point Dume. On November 24th, 1793, English explorer George Vancouver, commander of an expedition to determine the extent of settlement of the northwest coast of America, named this rocky promontory Point Dume, after his Franciscan friend, Father Francisco Dumetz. Just like I said. Oh, wow. I just noticed this little guy. Little lizard crawling into the bushes. Good reminder, I suppose, that I should be mindful of rattlesnakes. I mean, you wouldn't think rattlesnakes would be a thing in Malibu, but I'll bet you anything they're out here. I mean, I know Malibu Barbie doesn't come with her own snake bite kit. At least, not the last time I checked. I think Malibu Barbie was like the best selling of any of the Barbie dolls. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. I mean, it was iconic, and as a matter of fact, I wanted to call this video Malibu Hussy and take a picture someplace in my magic bikini. And I guess I'm not going to be able to do that here because there's too many dang people and they're filming a friggin' Hollywood production. But I suppose if I drive up the coast a bit to this supposed nude beach, I just might be able to find a spot to do it there. Oh, wait, look at that. They're filming the scene now with the actors in those beach chairs. Let's see if we can figure out who it is. You guys recognize that gal? I don't know, man. I don't watch movies or TV. Okay, I don't think this is a nude beach. I mean, according to what I read online, it is, but I don't know, man. There's a woman wearing a hijab over there, so I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a bunch of naked hippies hanging out here, but you never know. Okay, this isn't exactly what I had in mind when I imagined hanging out at a beautiful nude beach in Malibu. I mean, first of all, There's all these people wearing sweatshirts and sweatpants because it's overcast and cold. And well, then there's this friggin' house right next to me. Must be nice. Actually, I read online, I think you can only legally own the property right up to the point where the sand gets wet, like where the high tide comes in, because I guess up until the high tide, or the high water mark, is considered, well, the ocean is considered a navigable waterway, and so that's public property, and you can only build your fences and decks and jacuzzi tubs right up to the point where the sand gets wet. And it looks like those people went right up to the very edge, which, now that I think of it, is where I spend a lot of my time, on the edge between good taste and indecency. And since I came all the way out here to Malibu to tan my tuchus, well, I am gonna take my clothes off just for a few minutes so I can say I tanned naked in Malibu. Seems like a shame to come all the way out here and then not do it. Let's see how long it takes for me to get arrested. Well, if I'm gonna get arrested anyway, I might as well do it in style. Here's to the memory of the late, great Larry Hagman. Cowboy, oilman, alcoholic, and apparently acid head. All right. I guess I might as well get dressed and head back to my car. I mean, you're not supposed to film, you're not supposed to drink, you're not supposed to go naked. They took all the fun out of California. This was a literal paradise for the Chumash, for George Vancouver, for all those hippie surfers living in palm frond huts, for Larry friggin' Hagman. Unfortunately, it's 2025 and things have changed. You fools! You ruined it! Damn!